So here in this first example, we have Q exclusive or the quantity P or R. So this is going to be a larger truth table since we have 3 propositions going on. So let's go ahead and just start building our truth table. So this is going to have 8 rows in this table. So let's start with P, then Q, and R. And then we have whatever statements you have in parentheses, you want to put them on their own. So since we have P or R in parentheses, we want to make that its own column. So P or R. Then if we don't have any other quantities in parentheses, then we can just write the rest of the statement. So Q exclusive or P or R. So taking a look at this, this is when it's really important to know how to write the truthhood of each statement. So again, as I've been saying before, P is always going to be half true, half false. So we're going to start out with 4 trues and then 4 falses. And I added an extra row there that I didn't need. Okay, so now Q is going to be a quarter true, a quarter false. So since we have 8 rows, I'm going to start with 2 true and then 2 false, and then just keep alternating. So 2 true and then 2 false. So again, this is just to get all the possible combinations of true and false for each proposition. And then whatever's your last one, so R is the last proposition in the table, we're just going to strictly just alternate between true and false. So true, false, true, false, and keep going. So now I have all the possible combinations. So when I am doing the next one, I am strictly going to just be looking at the P column and the R column, since I'm only looking at P or R. So I need to see, okay, so based on this, my first one here, I have true or true. So that's going to be a true statement. Next, I have true or false, which if we go back to our notes from earlier in the lesson, that is also a true statement. And then I keep going. So true, true, that's true. True, false, that's true. Then we have false, true, which is true. And then false, false. Now we got our first false statement. And then false, true, that is true. And then lastly, false, false, that is false. So now, when I'm looking at the last column here, when I want to build this last column, I'm looking at Q. And then now I'm looking at exclusive or for this column here. So now I'm going to look at these and I'm going to build the last column based on these 2 columns. So remember, my logical connective is exclusive or, so I need to think about when exclusive or is true and when it's false. And I know that exclusive or is true when both of the statements have, or excuse me, not both. When we have at least one true, but not more than that. So I can't have 2 trues, I can only have 1 true. So looking at this here, if I have true, exclusive or true, then that is a false statement because I can't have both. Similarly here, that is false, and then I keep going. So false, exclusive, or true. Well, that one of them is true, but not both, so that is true. And then I have false, exclusive, or true, so that is true. True, true, that is false. True, false, that is true. False, true, that is true. And then lastly, false, false. Well, one of them has to be true, but not both. So since none of them is true, then this ultimately is false. So that is our first example here. The next one that I'm going to do is using the if-then statement. So let's take a look at if-then for our second example. So we have P implies Q if and only if R. So again, we have three we have three propositions with two logical connectives. So we're going to need, again, 8 columns here. Let's see if I have enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, I'm just going to split this last one so I can have enough room on this page. So we have P, Q, R, and then again, I'm going to start with whatever's in parentheses. And then our final statement, since I don't have any other parentheses. So let's go ahead and just build this truth table. So just like we did before, it's pretty much, it is going to be exactly how we started before. So again, P, half of them are true. And half of them are false. And then for Q, a quarter are true, a quarter are false, and keep going. And then for the last column, you just alternate. Some of you probably are going to ask me, oh, Ms. Sipple, can I just use T's and F's? I rather you didn't, because if you are moving quickly, your T's and F's can easily look the same. So I would rather you just write out true and false. So please don't use T's and F's because those can be easily mixed up, and I don't want you to lose points for just sloppy handwriting. So please just write out true and false. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at this statement here. So the Q, if and only if R, so I'm only going to be looking at Q and R here. So true, if and only if true. Again, for if and only if, they have to have the same truthhood. So taking a look at this here, we have true, if and only if true. Well, that is true. And then I keep going, true, false. They don't have the same truthhood, so that is false. False, true, that is false. False, false. They do have the same truthhood, so it's ultimately true. True, true is true. True, false, that is false. False, true, that is false. And then lastly, we have false, false. So again, they have the same truthhood, so that is ultimately true. Now I'm going to take a look at when I have my if-then statement. So I'm only going to be looking at this P here and now this column that I've just created. So again, I need to think, okay, when is if then true and when is it false? Well, this is the umbrella story. So I know that for an if then statement, in order for it to be false, I have to have true implies false. So I'm starting with P, so I need to make sure that I have these in the right order. Order matters in if then. So true implies true. That is true. True implies false. That is my false statement. So true implies false. That is false. Again, we have true implies false. So that is false. True implies true is true. False implies true. Well, if we start with a false statement in general, then anything that follows is going to be true. So we have true here. So the same thing is going to happen with the last of these. So we're starting with P being false, and anything that follows is going to be true. So since we're starting with P being false, it doesn't matter what the last statement is. It's going to be true. So the last of these are all going to be true since P was false to begin with. Okay, so now you should be completing the classwork packet, building these truth tables. We will be dealing with these a lot in the next couple days, so please make sure you understand when each logical connective is true and when it is false. If you have any questions, I will be available on Zoom starting at 1 o'clock until 1:30. All right, have a great afternoon, everyone.